keep doing this. I keep looking like I'm not wearing a top, but I am. Wearing that same top. Okay, so today I wanted to talk to my hooded eye people. Now, before we get into it, I'm aware that I don't have hooded eyes, okay? You don't have to tell me. But I have a lot of people who subscribe to me who have hooded eyes, and they want tips and tricks from me. So I do them. So I want to show you some things that you can do if you have hooded eyes. I know this is like a really big topic. I know that like hooded eyes are kind of difficult to navigate. But first we have to talk a little bit. Number one, not all hooded eyes are the same. For instance, there are partially hooded eyes, in my opinion, slightly hooded eyes, and then there's like fully hooded lids, and then there's like fully hooded eyes, which in my opinion, and let me go through all of the motions with you here. So for instance, I have slightly hooded lids, which means that this part of my eye comes down onto my lid a little bit. Some people have fully hooded lids. I'm going to insert photos as a reference if you don't know. Fully hooded lids, meaning maybe they have like a decent amount of space between, I don't know, wherever that skin like falls and the top of their eyebrow. So they have like a decent amount of real estate in that area to work with, but you can't see their eyelids when their eyes are open. I would consider like a fully hooded eye to be your lid is covered when your eyes are open and your brow is relatively low, meaning you don't have like a ton of room to work with in this area, okay? Tailoring tips and tricks to certain eye shapes that are categorized as hooded is going to vary drastically, okay? If you're doing something like a cut crease, or you're applying maybe like a halo look, or you're doing some kind of like a shimmery eyeshadow on the lid, and you have a matte eyeshadow above it, rather than just focusing it fully on the lid, to prevent something like transfer, you would bring it up just a little bit above. You've seen me do this a million times. It's pretty much how I do my makeup always. If I am wearing something shimmery on the lid, I take it just above that crease so that I don't have to worry about transfer and having it look like out of place. I do it intentionally. Something that I think is really important to keep in mind if you have hooded eyes of any sort is that you need to be a little bit creative. You need to think outside the box. You also need to be realistic. I love you, but if you don't have a lot of space to work with up in this area, you are not going to get the same effect no matter what you do, okay? I can't tell you how many times I've received questions from people who are like, you know, see this intricate like cut crease that I did or something, and then they go, I have like fully hooded lids, I have a super low brow, like you can hardly see any skin when my eyes are open, but I wanna do this, how do I do it? I love you. But I'm 5'2", okay? Me saying like, I want to look more like Kendall Jenner. How do I make that work? It's not gonna happen, okay? It's not gonna happen. You gotta be realistic. So if you don't have a ton of real estate and you love makeup and you love color and you want to experiment and you want to like make your eyes a statement, you gotta do it a different way. You're just not going to get the same effect as someone who has a ton of real estate to work with, okay? So I kind of want to work backwards here. So if you have this eye shape, you're not gonna do an intricate cut crease. It's not going to happen, okay? Maybe you can like do this and look into a mirror like that and get these tiny, tiny little brushes and you can like spend all of this time doing it. No one's gonna see it, okay? So rather than focusing on your lid and just under your eyebrow, play with that inner corner. You can place colorful shadows in your inner corner, which is honestly one of my favorite ways for anyone, especially if you're like a beginner and you're trying to dabble in color, to play around a little bit. So I kind of want to just like show you what that would look like. So you want to obviously keep in mind brush sizes, tiny, tiny little brushes. I've talked about these little brushes from Rephr a million times. There are two that are similarly shaped. The 03 is a little bit larger, and then the 23 is a little bit smaller. They're great multi-purpose brushes. I like to use them for lips. I like to use them to spot conceal. But if you have really, really tiny eyes and not like a ton of room to work with, these are going to be great. So if I'm working with my inner corner, like this is completely fine for me for like the amount of room that I have. But if you have like less and less room, this one is perfect, the 23 brush, because it's just like, you can really get that detail, you know? In fact, if you have really, really small eyes and you don't have a ton of room room to work with, the O3 brush would be really good for like crease work, lower lash line work, whatever. So a colorful inner corner. I'm gonna be using the this is new and I think it's limited edition. It's the Lightwork Volume 3 palette by Danessa Myricks, which literally like launched and I immediately bought it from Sephora because I love Danessa Myricks and look at how beautiful. So I'm gonna pick up Martian and I'm gonna be using the O3 brush and I'm going to focus this in my inner corner. So I'm gonna place it right here. And then obviously like judging by this eye shape that I'm showing you guys, I can bring this a little bit down onto the lower lash line, right here, and up just a little bit, kind of like fading up like that. Now, if you really want to, you can bring this all the way onto the lower lash line since you can actually like see that and play up using that color in that way. And because this isn't like a super dark shade, it's not gonna drag the eye down too much. You also have like a really nice reflect. So if you're playing up your lower lash line, it's not gonna be too heavy. Okay, so a pop of color on the inner corner is something that works for any eye shape, but especially any hooded eye. You can always play with your inner corner, always, okay? Just keep in mind that if you don't want it to close off your eyes too much, if your eyes tend to be a little bit more close set, mine are, you know, a little bit close set. If I use something really, really dark there and then like no makeup anywhere else, it's gonna really draw my eye inward and make my eyes look even more close set. So you just wanna keep that in mind. Something light, something bright, or at least light reflective. Some other really good examples of hooded eyes, and I've referenced them before, are Jennifer Lawrence and Blake Lively. They have hooded lids. So they have some like real estate to work with above that area. Essentially their skin here kind of folds over their lid so that they see the majority of the skin around their eye is this area right here. And you can't see their lid necessarily when it's opened, especially maybe Blake a little bit less, but especially Jennifer Lawrence. Something that you can do though is like, think outside the box a little bit. You have all of this room. Bro, eyeshadow can go anywhere on your eye. So you can take that all the way up to your brow. If you want to make a statement with color, you can apply a colorful shadow, a shimmery shadow, or even a smoky shadow just all in that area. I would recommend limiting it to maybe a couple colors and keeping it a little bit more smoky. In other words, you don't necessarily need to create like a line, like a crease line there. You can kind of just like take one color on a fluffy brush and blend it all the way up to the brow. Maybe you use two colors, maybe you use one down here and kind of blend it up and then another color like that, or use a slightly darker color on the outer part and a slightly lighter color on the inner or the middle. Another thing that you can do if you have this kind of an eye shape is you can technically do a cut crease situation, all right? So something, especially with Jennifer Lawrence here, is that this area of her eye, like it's essentially a flat plane. So do what you want with it. If you wanna go in, you wanna create some kind of a cut crease, maybe you draw a line or you use like a graphic liner and you put it up here, like way above. So imagine I have Jennifer Lawrence's eye right now, and this whole part of my eye is nice and flat all the way down to my lash line. I can literally create that line here, maybe take it out like this, bring it back and create a little bit more of like a triangle to create like a cat eye shape, and then use a little bit of a blending brush to blend up to my brow. Then if I want to put like some kind of a color or a shimmery shadow, I can place it all over my lid so that like when I close my eyes and you do see a little bit of that, it's not inconsistent, but I place that shimmer or color just underneath that line. Does that make sense? So you actually have a lot more room to work with on that eye shape than like a fully hooded lid, or a fully hooded eye, I mean. Actually, Taylor Swift is kind of similar. She has like a little bit less room in this area, but she still has like a decent amount of that space that is like out here. So essentially like the outer third up to like the outer third of her eyebrow, she still has that room. I personally, a lot of makeup artists on these kinds of like hooded eyes will often, because like for instance, Taylor Swift has like, I don't know if it's that she has tiny eyes or that like their makeup artists always put these like really, really dark colors around their eyes. When you have a hooded eye and you place a ton of dark color like on your lid or, you know, along your lash line, or like a black eyeliner in your waterline, you're kind of like closing your eyes even more. So keeping that area light and working more like in this area, if you have it, is going to like open up your eyes a little bit more. So that's just like one tip that I have. I don't necessarily like for instance, this photo of Taylor Swift. It just makes her, not that it looks bad, but to me, it makes her eyes look so incredibly tiny. And I don't find it to be very flattering on her eye shape. Probably old though. It does look like a relatively old photo. Another quick tip that I had for you guys is this is another thing that's going to work for every single hooded eye, is to play with your waterline. Have at it, man. Like that is actually like a really, really fun way to experiment with color and also just make like a little bit more of an impact. And it is just by, applying some kind of like a colorful or shimmery or even black, doesn't matter. Just doing some kind of definition, something with the waterline. So this is actually the I haven't used this in a really long time, Marc Jacobs Gem Stoned Highliner Glam Glitter Eye Gel Crayon, whatever it's called. So I'm going to apply this in my waterline. Now this is a little bit dark, especially for my skin tone. So if you don't want to close the eyes, if you want to keep them more open, then you want something that's going to be a little bit more bright. But if that's not a concern for you, using something dark like this will be fine. You can also, if you feel like this closes your eyes off too much, kind of just drag it a little bit onto the lower lash line. Okay, now I'm gonna grab that same shade, Martian, from the Danessa palette, and I'm gonna be using the Rephr 03 brush, and I'm gonna blend that liner into that inner corner shade, which is obviously the same shadow. And I'm just gonna slowly kind of blend it and buff it down so that I'm kind of like covering up my eye bag. But it's also gonna lighten that area a little bit. And then just if I wanna amp it up a little bit, I can kind of like blend that shade into my inner corner, onto my lid a little bit, just up, just so that it's like blending, so that when you're like closing your eyes, you know, everything is, it looks connected. It's not like patchy or anything. All right, I'm just applying my CoverGirl Lash Blast waterproof mascara, so you can see how this would look. All right, guys, so this is one way to wear your makeup, wear your eyeshadow, to be able to like rock colorful eyeshadow. And this is something that first eye can actually wear. So we're focusing on our inner corner and our lower lash line. I have nothing going on my lids. I just applied a little bit of mascara. Your mascara doesn't even have to be like, your lashes don't have to be up super high to give your eyes a little bit of definition, okay? Just like adding a little bit of that black or brown or whatever, a little bit of definition to the lashes is just going to like frame the eyes. This is a makeup look that any hooded eye can wear, no matter how much of your lid is showing, no matter how low your brow is, okay? All right, and then finally, just like one more little thing. I've talked about this a million times as well, and I actually have some videos on this that I can link somewhere or whatever, they'll probably be around. Focusing on this area. Like your eyeshadow doesn't have to be designated to your lid or just above like where your lash line is. You can smoke shit out here. So you can take some kind of a blending brush or whatever, anything, and just like take your eyeshadow out in this kind of a shape. Like if you don't have that much room up here, you can just like smoke out. Here, I'll show you with my contour color, with my Wayne Goss. So I'm just picking up that contour color on this fluffy Rephr 14 brush. Maybe you feel like putting something on that lower lash line is just dragging your eyes down, you know, and you need something that's gonna kind of give them a little bit more of a lift. Just adding that definition right there helps to kind of like give my eyes a little bit more of an upward and outward angle so that they're not being like dragged down or pulled in too much. The moral of the story here is you have to be realistic about your actual anatomy. There's only so much that we can change or manipulate without surgery, okay? And I don't think that's necessary. Just be a little bit creative. Think outside the box a little bit. Think about like areas around your eyes where you do have room to work with, whether it's just underneath your brow, or it's out here, or it's just your inner corner, or it's just your lower lash line. Play with your waterline. And you know, if it would be beneficial To you guys, if I'm doing like an eyeshadow tutorial or just like, I don't know, some kind of a makeup look in general, if you want me to give you kind of like, if you have hooded eyes, I kind of try to do this, but if you have like hooded lids, try it like this, or if you have like very low brows, try it like this, that kind of thing, let me know. Let me know if you want me to do something, let me know if you need me to do it more than I do, because I do try to, but I'm probably not that consistent with it. Yeah, I hope this was helpful, you guys. I know different eye shapes are like really difficult to navigate. It definitely takes a little bit of like creative thinking and practice, but you can definitely like still, you know, dabble in creative and colorful and like bold makeup if you have hooded eyes. Just try some of these things, and I would love to hear, like, if you do try them, how it works for you. Hopefully it works. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you want to see next. Bye.